Hello everybody, and welcome to my review of a 2018 Dodge Charger SXT Leather Sports Track Edition. It is in a beautiful, gorgeous orange color with 300 horsepower coming out of a V6 engine. This is a very unique car because not a lot of cars will look like this, at least with the Dodge Charger brand, without upgrading to the Scat Pack, the SRT, or even the Hellcat. So this body style here is usually the stuff they can only find on the higher end models. On this model in particular, because it's the sports package, you get the aggressive look of a Dodge Charger without that price tag. So let's go over some of the features of this vehicle. First of all, you get this key right here. Kind of a standard key. You got your unlock, your lock. You hit this button right here twice to get your trunk open, and hit this button here twice to start up the vehicle. And you know what? Let's do that right now. So right here, you push this button twice. Very nice. So as we can see here, it has daytime running lights. If I hit this button right here, just the unlock button, we can also see it has the halogen HID headlights. So they're going to be more powerful at night other than your standard headlights that you usually see on the road. It comes with these nicer wheels as well. Let's take a look at these real quick. A lot nicer wheels than you originally get in the original SXT package. Also, with these tires as well, these will produce more grip than any of the other SXTs as well. Let's do another walk around of the vehicle here. Still get more of the tire right there. And also, with this SXT Sports Track Edition, you also get right down here. So this right here, when you're braking really hard or just kind of doing some other things with the vehicle, there will be air flowing right through this rear fenders over here to cool down the brakes for you. So if you're on a track mode or anything like that, you'll be able to cool down the brakes a lot quicker. And right down here we have the tip of an exhaust system, and the difference between this one and the regular SXTs is that the original SXTs have a square shape instead of a round circle shape. And like I've said before, these circle shapes usually would just come with the Scat Packs, the SRTs, and the Hellcats. So that is basically the difference of these vehicles. Just give me a second, and let's look underneath the hood of this beast. So here's the engine underneath this SXT Sports Track Charger. It still has a 3.6 liter V6 engine, but it has been fine-tuned to produce 300 horsepower. Right over here you got the air filter filtration. This would be easy to switch out for a cold air intake to produce more power. And also up here you got your coolant. Over here we got your fuse boxes, and right over here we have your washer fluid, and down here we also have your oil check. So you can check your oil about every 5,000 miles or something like that, just to make sure that the car will be running smoothly. So this is the underneath the engine. Very simple, not very complex. Time for a test drive. So here's the inside of the vehicle. You got your tachometer on the left, your speedometer on the right, and you also have a information center in the middle of the vehicle. So right now we have it to show how many miles an hour we're going. If you hit one of these buttons, this button right here on the left hand side, it will change the information that you'll have in the middle of your screen. So right now where it says vehicle info, let me scroll up one more time. It'll say speedometer, go down one more, then you got your vehicle info, and it'll tell you your coolant temperatures, your transmission temperature, oil temperature, oil pressure, oil life, battery voltage, air intake temp, engine torques, and my favorite, engine horsepower. And then you can go back to the front where it's the tire pressure. So here you have your performance. It has your 0 to 60 timer, a 0 to 100 timer, an 8th mile timer, a 1/4 mile timer, and your braking distance, G-force, peak G-force, lap timer, and lap history. And also the top speed of this vehicle, which has been 61 miles an hour. It's brand spanking new, so some people will do that. If you keep going down, you'll get your fuel economy. Go down one more time, got your trip info. And your audio, whatever you're listening to, will show up there. Your messages, so what these would be is like telling you that your door is open, your seatbelt's not on, or let's say that your washer fluid is low. It will give you that type of information. And your screen setup, so you can change let's say you wanted to change the mile range, you can actually change that to o'clock. So it's very customizable, this car. And then we'll go back to the speedometer. Also in this car, we also got the brand new 8.3 inch Uconnect system. It's an extremely responsive system that works very, very well. You can hear, you can change all your climates. This car also comes with a heated steering wheel, heated seats, and ventilated seats. And down here in Texas, these ventilated seats are fantastic. Down here you can change how much speed the fan will produce. Over here you have the apps, so you can do some of the stuff down here, but you can also do a lot of it from up here, like the heating and the ventilating seats. Let's scroll over to right over here. You also have the mirror dimmer, so at night the mirror itself will be able to dim for you. Also, since this is the track version of this vehicle, we do have performance pages. And just give that a second to load up. And while we're waiting, oh, never mind. So right here we can have the different, this is the main setup right here of this car. So you can also change what you want to see. So let's say, we have horsepower up here, the G-force is down here, your current gear, and it says click to add widget. So let's click that. Then let's make another gauge. And let's say we always wanted to know what our oil pressure is like, which is good to know when you're taking this thing around the track. So right over here, it will consistently tell you how much oil pressure you have and how much are you losing, how much are you gaining, just depending on how fast you're going. Now, that's just the main screen. Down here, we also have the timers, gauges, G-force, engine, and also a dyno. So let's say I start revving up the car. It'll keep up with what you're doing. It'll keep up with the power and the torque that you're consistently doing on the fly. So you can always see how much power you're making, what your RPM range is, and pretty cool stuff like that. So let's go over to the controls. This has heated, ventilated, and heating steering wheel, like I've mentioned before, the mirror dimmer, which I've also mentioned, and also the heated and ventilated seats for the passenger side. So there's multiple ways here to change your climate controls. In this car also, we have the navigation system. So this one is one of the best systems I've ever used for navigation. So here we can see where we are right now. But let me do this. So let's hit that navigation button again, and let's go to where to. Here you can see all the different options you can pick from. So usually one of the best things to do if you don't know where you're going to go is go for a POI, a point of interest. And let's say you need to fill this thing up. Here you can tell it's on distance right now, exactly how far away each and every one of the gas stations are far. So if you needed a quick splash and dash, we would go over to this gas station right here. I've used this system many times and it is great. And also we can pair up phones. I would not like to pair up my own personal phone, thank you. But what this will be able to do is to pair up your phone, receive text messages, send text messages, and play your music and other things like that. This vehicle also has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So if you didn't want to use this system right here, you can use the phone system of Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Down here we have your standard controls. You have your volume control, your radio control, your fan blower speed, a mute button for the audio, The screen off button will turn this off up here. Your sport mode, your Super Track Pack, I'll get to that in a second, and parking sensors for would be off. I don't know why you would touch this button. Don't touch this button. Traction control off, and the heat up, cool down, front defroster, rear defroster. Pretty standard stuff, nothing too special. But let me show you the Super Track Pack. So up here we have different settings. So let's go up to the sport mode setup. When we're in the sport mode setup, if you hit the sport button down at the bottom here, this is what's going to happen to the vehicle. Your engine will go into sport mode, the paddle shifts will be on, the traction is in normal right now, but you can change that to sport. And the steering is going to be in sport, normal, or comfort. The sport mode will have a heavier feel to it. Normal would be kind of a normal drive mode, and then the comfort will kind of have more of a loose feel to the steering wheel. My personal favorite is the sport, so I've always left it on. So let's hit that Super Track Pack button again. Now launch control, that's something you can't really use until you hit about 500 miles in the car when the engine's finally broken in. But what you can do is you can adjust where would you like to have the RPM set. So let's say around 2100. So then you have your foot on the brake, mash down the pedal, and then you're all set and ready to go to fly in this car. Gear selector. You have your park, your reverse, your neutral, drive, and then if you slide it over to the left while it's in drive, you'll be in manual mode, and you can use the paddle shifts on the steering wheel, or use this as well to go down for down a gear, or up to lower the gear. Also got illuminated cup holders as well, and in here is the USB ports and the auxiliary cable for your phones. And this material that they use here in this car is an Alcantara suede. So it's kind of a clothy feel right here, but you can also see it's ventilated for the heated and cooled sections of the car. And also there's the leather part right here that really has nice bolstering to it. I love it. It is great. It is something really nice to have. So this is the interior of this particular vehicle. A fantastic car. And also down here, one more thing, this is where you can do your headlights. Honestly, I would just leave them in the auto position, and if you push this button right here, that will leave on the fog lights for you. But as far as that goes, this is the inside of this Dodge SXT Super Track Pack Edition. Alrighty, now let's get onto the road and drive and see what this vehicle can do. Alright everybody, now we're going to run off with this Dodge Charger and see what this thing can do. Like I said before, it's got the 300 horsepower V6 engine underneath, and it has been retuned to do 300. We're going to wait for this guy to come out. What's up, dude? Anyway, these seats, like I mentioned before, A+. Especially now when it's, it's hot in Texas right now. So it says it's 91 degrees outside. Man, I really wish it was, 70, 75. That's one of my favorite temperatures anyway. I wish it would be that way consistently down here. Anyway, now that we're driving out of the dealership, let's see how this thing performs on the road. Let's see, look left, look right, and we'll go left and see where we'll go. Now, just for a standard cruiser, this thing is extremely nice. So, this thing is extremely easy to drive. Anybody can drive this vehicle. It's a little big, I will admit. It's a bigger vehicle, and it weighs a lot. However, it's still an easy car to drive. I'm going 40 miles an hour right now. It's quiet, it's comfortable, an easy car to drive. Anybody can drive it. Would I recommend it as a first car? Maybe if you're maybe 17 or 18 years old. As a brand new car though, I don't know if I would recommend it, because I would probably recommend something a little bit smaller, not as big as this car. Is that a downside of this vehicle? No. It's not made for, you know, brand new drivers, I don't think. But if you really wanted to, and if you were training somebody in a bigger vehicle, might as well go for it. I mean, for what this is and for this price point, it's a great car. So now we're coming up to a stop sign real quick. Let me see. These aren't any special brakes or anything like that, but for how big this car is, like, this is a big car. These brakes stop really well, very well indeed. So, actually, you know what? I'm gonna go into the right because I think it'll be easier. I did forget to mention that this does have a rear view camera, and it is standard on all 2018 vehicles now. By law, most, actually I should say, most 18 vehicles have a backup camera. I really think this should have been standard 5 or 6 years ago. Anyway, speed is now 45. Let's go about 50. Kind of bring it up a little bit. There's still some power. Man, it does make a great sound for a V6. Alright, so now we're going to bring it into some corners to kind of see how this thing feels. Like I said, it's a bigger car, so I'm assuming it's going to feel a little top heavy. Waiting for all these other cars to go so I can go. Assuming I can go now. So let's take this thing around some corners and see what it feels like. Kind of bring up the RPMs. Man, it's still it's a good V6. This is a fantastic V6. And you know what? Around these corners here, it's not too bad. I mean, you can definitely feel the body roll. There's definitely going to be body roll, regardless if you're in sport mode or not. And on my way back, I'll put it in sport mode and see if it makes that much of a difference for me. But let's see, we're about to come up on some other corners here. So, can it be a track car? Definitely. It can definitely be a track car. Can you definitely do upgrades to it to make it even more fun? Absolutely. A crazy amount of people I've seen do some crazy modifications to this car, even to the V6. One modification you can do, mid-muffler delete. What will that do? Make your car louder, and it will help the air of the exhaust pass a lot easier, so it'll make your car kind of seem a lot healthier. So here we can usually come around a roundabout right here. I know you can't see it, but for me, it helps me describe to you what's going on. So right now I'm going to put this thing into sport mode and put it into the manual transmission shifting. And right here is usually where I'll kind of figure out how good the turning radius. And you know what? For a really big car, this thing is great. So here we go down these stretch of roads again. It's not bad. I mean, my seatbelt just locked up. I mean, that tells you that this thing has performance potential. Even still in manual mode, this thing is extremely easy to drive, and in sport mode. I mean, what the sport mode will do is make the gearbox last a lot longer. So instead of having shorter shifts, it'll kind of spread it out. That way you can get the most power at the higher RPMs rather than letting it shift at like maybe 3 or 3.5 when this thing can actually redline at about 6,000. And also, like I said, it has a sport steering. That's the way I like it. I love a heavier steering wheel. There's nothing better, I think, than having a heavier steering wheel, because you can actually feel the road underneath you, and it makes you feel that much more confident in the corners than it would with a softer touch of a steering wheel. So now we're going to be turning left and kind of we're already heading back to where we need to go. We're just going to have a nice little cruise on the way back. Put it back and drive. Just let the car do its thing. I'll still leave it in sport mode though, because I like the heavier feel. And that is something you can change in when you put on the sports track as well, is that you can automatically change what you want to do with the car as a default. So as soon as you turn it on, you can leave it into a sport mode feeling. And that's what I've done in my personal car. I always thought it was a better feel of the vehicle. That way I know exactly what's going on the road, versus me sort of guessing, especially with, like I said before, a heavier car. So now we're pulling back into the dealership to park up this bad boy again. So this was my initial review of the 2018 SXT Sports model of the Charger. Do I like it? Yes. Are there other models out there? Yes. There's the XXT, which is the the base model, and there's also this one, but there's also ones that go even higher, like the Scat Pack, the Daytona, and the Hellcat, and those will be reviewed as well, especially the Scat Pack because I have one personally. So that one will be an easy review to do, but also a really fun one to do as well. But you know what? I had fun in this car. It gave me, it made me smile. Any car that will make me smile is something that is worth considering. I mean, I'm a speed junkie. I love speed. But you don't have to pay the price as much as a Hellcat either. All right, everybody. Well, this has been my review of this vehicle, and I gotta say, it's a lot better than I thought it would be. Let's see. So if you are interested in this vehicle or have any more questions about this vehicle, let me know. My name is Alexander Gibbs here down at Grapevine Dodge. I'll be putting out more vehicles like this, and like I said, if you have any questions, message me and we'll talk about if there's anything that I missed, or if you're interested in purchasing this wonderful vehicle, let me know and we'll see if we can work a deal out for you. All right, everybody. See you next time.